A warm welcome to the PlayPan Podcast. Podcast for good, fostering a culture of giving, one story at a time. I'm Kenneth Chu, your host for this journey. We'll be diving into the heartening stories that underscore how PlayPan cultivates a culture of giving. Together, we are redefining how we give back to society, making a difference through the power of play. Hi, welcome Leonie. Welcome to PlayPan Podcast. So can you talk to the audience and share with them where are you from, and also a short introduction about yourself, your background, and also share with us how you got involved into PlayPan.
Okay. Thanks very much, Kenneth, for inviting me. My name is Leonie, like the road, Leonie Hill, Leonie Road, not Leonie Road. I want to highlight this. I've been living here over the past 20 years. My husband is Singaporean. Actually, he brought me to Singapore.
Wow.
And I'm originally from Germany. You will realize this after a while. A bit longer.
Then you speak great.
German accent, but maybe sometimes some Singlish comes along. I came to Singapore in 2003. I have been working since then here in the education and sustainability sector. And over the last years, I was focusing on international education projects for a foundation which connected Asia and Europe. So I did higher education collaboration, teacher professionalization, and youth leadership. But after spending almost 20 years in Singapore, which is almost half of my life,
Wow.
I thought I need to do something on the ground. My kids go to public school. Most of my friends are here in Singapore. So I wanted to create rather local impact than working outside of the country. And that's when I changed my career and started at Social Enterprise, a circular classroom with a friend of mine, Zenobia Tinwala. And we are here since September. In PlayPan, we got introduced by a professor, Professor Hanoi Lok from Singapore Management University, who worked with Gary Hong on a number of projects, which also helped promote PlayPan. And we are really happy to be part of this community because we believe that through community initiatives like that, we can really make a change in society, and that's what we want to do.
Wow, that's nice to hear that. And also you were mentioning that you have been in Singapore for 20 years, and at the same time you were in the educational part of it. So maybe you can share a bit more about the social startup that you came up with, the circular classroom. Maybe you can share with the audience, what is it so unique about this social startup?
I think unique is that it emerged from a parent support group in Changkat Primary School. So both Zenobia and my kids went to Changkat Primary School, and we were active for over a decade, me now since 8 years, in that public school. And that parent support group is very unique. It's a very strong community, very tightly knit, and we really work in close collaboration with the school leadership. So at the end of last year, when our kids graduated, went on to secondary school, we had a stack of school uniforms left behind, and we didn't know what to do with it. And some of the parent volunteers, they said, you can give it to the school general office. They give it to kids who either need it. Sometimes they spill something during recess on the uniforms. But the school have only limited capacity.
Yep.
If 150 students graduate or you have 1,000 kids in the school, they cannot keep 1,000
Right, they need space, right? They need
exactly.
space.
So we realized very soon this is a bigger challenge for other parents as well. We have 400 students in schools in Singapore.
Wow.
90,000 kids graduate every year. So this is a bit more than we can manage as a PSG group in Changkat. So we got together and we decided, let's set up an entity which can tackle this issue of uniform wastage, because a lot of them actually end up in a general waste. How can we tackle this on a larger scale? How can we better work with other stakeholders, government, schools, community stakeholders, and set up a system where school uniforms can be reused, repurposed, recycled, for a good social and environmental cause. And this is how we started.
Wow, that is very, because I'm a parent. I have a 14-year-old daughter. As you mentioned, right, every year we were thinking ways. In fact, we didn't know that we can hand it back to the school for them to repurpose it. We just chuck it and keep it like a souvenir. And my daughter can't bear to let it go, right? Because, this is my primary school uniform. And now she has outgrown. She has grown up to be a beautiful young lady. So like for secondary school, right, then when they go on into poly, they don't even need all this uniform. So as I know, right, for you guys, you upcycle or you do it something different in educational rather than creating another product. Can you share with us why with that approach? Because we saw a lot of people upcycling, they created new product, deconstruct the whole thing. So why is your angle different? Or is it because a lot of people are doing upcycling to another product, but you want to convert it into educational product? And what are the different type of education product that you guys have come up with?
So in our case, we want to combine two areas coming from parent support group movement, which is education and sustainability. So that's why we also call it the circular classroom. It's, classrooms are usually squarish.
Oh, yeah.
We want to introduce the principles of circular economy into the education context. So basically what goes into the education should stay there as long as possible. It's like creating an ecosystem where products, services, but also knowledge is as much as possible maximized and where you can extend lifespan of certain products or materials. And so what we do with school uniforms is we are not creating something new out of it for the sake of production. We look at school uniforms and think, what do students need in the education sector, which can be made out of old school uniforms, and it's useful for them. So a P1 parent, one of the things they will buy aprons for art classes. Why do you need to buy an apron which is made out of a new material, imported from abroad, if you can buy an apron made of an old school uniform skirt made by Singaporeans? We create green jobs, we do something good. And for both sides, the parents who feel good that they have done something on a social and environmental level, and we have a community we can support here in Singapore who needs part-time jobs, who's interested in showing their skills, competences in sewing.
So you're also creating jobs, new jobs for people who may be into this area, into social work, but at the same time, because of the circular economy. Maybe you can talk about, especially for those who are new to this term circular economy, maybe you can do a short, quick introduction. Like what is it about and why is so different from the rest of when you talk about recycling and all that stuff?
It's not different, it's just a wider context. So I think all of us know about the 3 Rs, reduce, reuse, recycle. And the circular economy goes a little step further. It's also about reviewing the whole system, the whole process from the extraction of resources to the production, the supply chain, the delivery. And it's about maximizing the lifespan of anything. So for uniforms, we give uniforms after kids have outgrown the uniforms, graduate, or a uniform doesn't look any more suitable to be worn. We give uniforms a second life in different ways. And that's what the circular economy is about, really maximizing the limited resources we have on our planet in different areas. In our case, it's on sustainable textiles and in particular uniforms.
Okay. So maybe can you bring us through, right? What is that flow like? For example, if I'm a parent, right? After I have all this uniform that's outgrown by my daughter, what is the next step after that, and how does it come back as a whole?
So for us, the most important thing we need are school uniforms. So the first step is, how do we get school uniforms? Here at PlayPan, we have like a little co-creation space. So we invite parents to come over to 1 Sophia Road and donate their uniforms. Can be from kindergarten, primary, secondary.
As long as it's school uniform.
As long as it's school uniforms, exactly. PE shirts, regular.
PE shirt,
PE shirt, everything. So the school uniform itself and the PE attire. We have also started to work with a few schools to do the uniform donation drives in their school. So our pilot school was Changkat Primary School. We started, we are relatively new social enterprise. Started beginning of this year. So middle of this year, we did our first pilot experiment at Changkat. And we collected already in the middle of the year 500 uniforms, just even with kids graduating. So you can imagine you have 150 kids.
And that is only from one school.
That's only from one school. So we don't have the capacity of hundreds of thousands of uniforms. We want to build up slowly and steadily. But as soon as we get the uniforms, there are different types of uniforms. Some of them obviously can be reused. Wearing a pre-loved uniform is an option, and some people do that. Second one is repurposing. If there's one stain, a button missing, you can still do something with it. And then there are uniforms who are heavily stained. So this one can be still used for art products. So it's a whole ecosystem which we are trying to set up, starting, however, with a mindset change. Because first we need to get parents on board, students on board who support us by following sustainable practices, which in this case is giving it, donating it. And the second step is really getting the schools and the education system on board to see the value of this and to support us on an institutional level.
So how do you do that mindset shift for parents? Do you do workshops, seminars, or how do you do the outreach?
There's no easy answer to that. Mindset change is the most difficult thing you can do. So there are two elements. One is obviously, as we're former parents, we are parent support group leaders. So a crucial role is to have in each school like parent ambassadors, parents for sustainability, who really spread the news and who help you or help other parents to get engaged in the process. Mindset change takes place in the school compound itself, because we want to work in partnership with schools. So working with the various head of departments on various projects. We did an interesting awareness creation campaign starting in September. We continue it at the beginning of next year with Singapore Management University and their SMUX courses. We started a parent survey and a student survey across the nation on three things. Number one, do you know about the Singapore Green Plan? Number two, what are your sustainable consumption patterns? And number three is, what do you think about pre-loved school uniforms? So it goes hand in hand, awareness creation through communication, like the survey, being in the school on the compound, connecting parents, schools, and students. And the third one, what you mentioned before, is like workshops and really practical activities where people see, I can do something with uniforms.
Like how they can use the uniform to create your educational product or even artwork, right?
Yeah. So when you come or when we see now parents coming, or anybody comes to PlayPan and then they see this huge textile mountain, most of them think it's just regular.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Most of them, they come and think, what can I buy? Then they're very, very disappointed. Nothing to buy here because it's just, like school uniforms.
Right.
Well, yes, school uniforms, but look at the wall. What is this? And then you have this big aha moment, surprise, wow, you can create this out of a uniform. They have not really thought about this because everybody is so focused on a uniform is just in the school context. We still keep it in the school context, but we just use the resource to create an apron, to create pencil cases, to create shoe bags for CCA with a memory pillow, bucket hats, So
it's kind of like going back, that means from the school uniform, going back to school again, but in another form.
Exactly. That's what you asked me earlier. That's that circularity in education. What the corporates do already with the whole circular economy approach, bring this to an education context, because the education sector is also an ecosystem where you can do that. And uniforms is just one part of it. There's much more, like learning materials, furniture, anything.
Yeah, in fact, you give me another idea, which I will share it with you offline. Had another idea for how to expand to another industry or another category. But having heard all that, right, as a parent, I think it makes us even more on wanting to be on this mission, because we always want to get involved. Like you talk about parent support group, right? A lot of time we want to do more things, right? But what can we do more? So that's where I think the circular classroom really brings out that kind of urge in us to wanting to contribute back, because there's only so much we can do to get ourselves involved with the school. I think what you guys are doing is also to encourage parents, because you definitely need a lot of more. I think we'll say, will you be looking at volunteers?
Yes. Yeah. So we have obviously like targets like any other startup, and as a young startup, we have to start slowly but steadily growing. Growing hopefully next year much more when people know more about us. But at the end of the year, so our target by the end of the year is to have at least 10,000 school uniforms, which we have available to repurpose. You say, wow, but 10,000 is nothing, because if you have 400,000 students and each of them has probably one school uniform, which is somehow, unusable, can imagine the numbers. So 10,000 school uniforms, but we want to create a network of parents. We call it Parents for Sustainability, who are interested in somehow getting involved, either with hands-on activities or with intellectual input, how we can really connect schools and homes, because environmental education is very, very strong in the schools, but it's not necessarily always at home. So the survey I was telling you earlier, which we did with SMUX, was quite interesting. So we asked, because some of the questions we asked the parents, and then we asked primary students, secondary students, and JC students. And the same questions come to very different answers. So one of the first questions was, do you know about the Singapore Green Plan? So 30% of primary school students know it, 50% of secondary, and I think it was about 75 to 80% of JC students. So that's good. You see, the older and the more mature they get, they learn it. But only 40% of the parents knew about the Singapore Green Plan.
In fact, I do not know.
Okay, so you do the survey with us, then you know. So this is about awareness creation. But then there was another question, do you talk about environmental topics at home? And between 70 to 90% differently levels, primary, secondary, and JC students said occasionally and not, which actually is a cause of concern, because if environmental topics are not discussed at home, the schools are doing the majority of work, but it's not applied. It's not applied.
It has to, it's like taking two hands to clap, right?
Exactly.
It's like the school is doing so much, but the parents are not aware.
Yeah. So in our case, by using this medium of school uniforms, they have it at home. It's not only about walk the talk; it's wear the talk. Wear the talk in a way, and it's the thing which keeps wear 8 hours every day. Parents have it. They are constant. I mean, the amount of washing, when the kids come home from
the affinity.
Exactly. So it's a very simple tool to engage. Everybody knows it. Everybody has somehow a connection to it.
In fact, a fun fact, right? In fact, I still kept my primary school PE t-shirt at home. The small and tiny one. It's like a legacy memory, because when you are just moving house and you just dig out some treasure that was being kept. I think that the kind of affinity that parents have. And for, because I'm born in the 80s, so sometimes we want to wear the school uniform to take some great pictures and all that. So I think the affinity is there also.
Can I share an anecdote with you? So apart from the fact that, my partner Zenobia, who is like the master seamstress and comes up like as a creative director with all the products, she has made a memory pillow made out of school uniforms. But we had a couple coming here who met in secondary school, and they did their pre-wedding photos in their school uniform. So you have this, emotional attachment sometimes, and they had this nice story that they met in secondary school. So before we do the wedding photos, we are going back to school and do our pre-wedding photos with our old school uniform.
I did that, just that we couldn't find back our uniform, because me and my wife, we are from the same secondary school.
You might not fit in your primary school uniform.
Yeah, true. So we wanted to do it for secondary school, but we couldn't get the uniform in time. So we didn't, but we shot it in school. Like you said, that kind of affinity, that kind of connections. I think parents do connect with it a lot. Good. So from there, right, what is the circular classroom going to be in the next year, 2024, or moving forward? What are your plans? Will you be able to share with us?
So the plans are, we started with one pilot school. We have a few other schools now on board to do uniform donations drives with us. We are discussing with a number of schools learning and action programs, or service learning that is more on a polytechnic level. And we are in discussion with some schools to do project-based learning in the school itself. So what we started in Changkat, we would like to expand, because the idea is really to work in partnerships with a larger school community to, as I said earlier, connect schools with homes, get parents engaged. So this is one part. The second part is now, as we are getting all the resources, starting the production line, seeing can we engage schools to commission our products. For example, aprons, for example, bucket hats. I think every parent is a bit exhausted from the amount of PE camp shirts at home, which are not orientation day, this shirt, that shirt. Instead of that, why can't we not just use a uniform, have a bucket hat, or have like a sling bag, something which is useful, so we don't add another PE camp shirt, which is then a sleeping shirt half a year later. So that's one part. So we are looking for volunteers, but also looking for for people who are interested in part-time jobs to help us with that production of products. And we continue our survey, we continue our study and outreach within the community. Obviously, in July, there's again the Go Green movement, which is done by MSE. So hopefully we can have a bigger event this year across a number of schools, but also in the community. So it's a big field.
Yeah, which is to keep you busy, right?
Yes, it keeps us busy, and from the response we get, it's very positive.
Yeah.
But we are looking like for people to support, community partners to support in one way or another. It's I think an area where many people can contribute across different generations. And it's not only about sewing itself; it's also about the whole communication about sustainability applied at home, applied in the lifestyle.
Good. So I'm curious about the part, right, where you talk about, because you're collecting so much within a year, you're opening up to more school for collection. So how will the production be able to catch up with it? And what is the, you have input, right? A lot of input. What is the output going to be? And what kind of help would you need? And how can PlayPan play a part in increasing that output?
So now with PlayPan, we have a beautiful space for storage and for showcasing. We have to see how this develops next year. A lot of it is in collaboration with schools. And also collaboration with parent support groups, but also parents in different schools. When it comes to the production, we are not interested in taking more resources than we actually need. So that's something very important. If we want to promote sustainable consumption with our work, we are not overproducing because nobody will take it. There are obviously uniforms when we have the resources which are stained, which are not usable. For this one, we do art projects. So there's always something you can use. And here we do workshops in active aging centers from next year onwards for bonding, for mental health, etc. But the idea is really to plan it in such a way that the demand and the supply are really balanced out. Yes, that's the plan.
That's good. That means you are tracking along the way. You will not over-collect.
Exactly. We are tracking along the way. There are obviously a few uniform types which we prefer. The best are pinafores and skirts, because once you open it, you have a large piece of cloth. Tricky are PE shirts and PE shirts, and that is something
that you will hope not to collect that.
Not hope not to collect, but that is something I think people have to be aware of. It's nothing else than plastic. People wear plastic on the body.
That could be awareness, right?
It's awareness. Many schools move already into the dry fit shirts because the others are too hot. But when it comes to sustainability, that's not the right choice necessarily, because what you can produce and the materials which can degenerate is cotton. But all of us, nobody likes sweat stains. No, nobody. But at the same time, the PE shirts also sweat stink the most when they come back. But this is something which is probably like a call rather for those who produce the uniforms, for the supply chain. Look and think about sustainable materials, because the current school uniforms are rather under the category of fast fashion. Yeah.
Good to hear that. As you mentioned, right now you have a beautiful place at PlayPan, located at the soon-to-be demolished Peace Center. So what is your plan after this? Because the Peace Center will be demolished by the end of January. So moving forward, what plans do you have moving forward? Are you looking for a space? Because you're having a lot of traction, a lot of collection. What is your plan moving forward?
So our work is not necessarily like in a shop where we sell, and you need to have the materials, because we are repurposing. So our work is happening more in the background, and all our work happens in the schools when we do learning weeks or when we go into community centers, do our activities. So we not necessarily need a space per se, but it is beautiful to have a space where people can come together and can see. And can have the overall experience, like, you see the uniform mountain, and we have downstairs a uniform mountain. These are the products. And then next to it is a co-creation space where you can just try. And it's the same as, I remember when I did my first 3D printing, it was super exciting. Actually, the sewing machine is almost like an old-fashioned 3D printer. The reaction is almost the same.
Fabric.
No, because people are so amazed that I can create something with it, and it's fun. It's actually fun, and you can do it quickly, and people just feel good about it. So in this regard, it would be nice to continue the space. It's a very very supportive community here at PlayPan. I hope that we can all get together and find a solution that we, like some businesses, some government agencies hear our call, because as I said at the very beginning, I've been here since 20 years. And this is the first time for me in Singapore that there have been like very ground up, bottom up spaces as well. But this is the first time that I actually see a mall, which is a consumption temple usually, where I see a mall transforming into something very different.
Yep.
And where you have really people, neighbors left and right, who all are pulling on the same string and all are just wanting to do something good.
Yeah.
And I hope that this will continue. It's such a nice, it's such a beautiful initiative, such a meaningful initiative. So I can just hope that, you know, the people who come here, the visitors, and the community itself finds future partners who appreciate that, and to realize that if you want to have innovation, if you want to build up like bottom-up movement to support government policies, independent if it's about social cohesion, if it's about environmental protection, all of this, you need the community for this. And this is actually an experiment which showcases it works.
Correct. Yeah. So having said that, right, because you talk about PlayPan and the spirit that is over here, what is PlayPan to you, and what do you foresee PlayPan after Peace Center be demolished? What do you see the future for PlayPan, or what we call the PlayPan 2.0?
Yeah, we all believe in PlayPan 2.0. Maybe it's not only about space itself, it's in general a mindset. Yep. So I think what has created here is also a mindset, or like a style of living. So that is definitely the future of PlayPan, which will continue. Let's not restrict us towards a space, even though I think a space is needed and useful. But if not, then we should not be discouraged, because at the end, it's about how we live and what we do. And that is independent from where you are located. So I hope in terms of community spirit that this will just continue, and maybe in a different version. But for us, PlayPan is, education is also about playing. Huh? We know that gamification is a huge part of education.
You learn better when you play, right?
Exactly. So in this regard, we fit into that concept. Yeah.
That's good. Nice to hear that. To really wrap up, right? Maybe you can share with the audience, right? Any things that you want to tell the audience, and maybe you can look at this camera to tell them what's the message that you want for them. Okay.
So my message from both Zenobia, who's my partner, and me, and the Circular Classroom is number one, don't throw away your school uniforms. We are working with schools to have a more decentralized way of collecting it, but we also have our space here still until end of January. So come over and help us increase this uniform mountain. That's number one. Number two, to all the parents and students, we have a nationwide survey currently going on. We are compiling all the data. We want to make, together with SMUX, a report which we can share with government officials, with school leaders on environmental education. So please participate in that survey. And number three, if you are interested in volunteering, if you're interested in green jobs, just contact us. Happy to hear from you.
Wow, thank you, Leonie, for sharing that message out to the audience. So once again, thank you very much to be a part of the PlayPan, and also being invited and be one of the stakeholders that believe in the PlayPan vision, fostering of giving, and also having your story to share with more people. Thank you once again for appearing and making time for the PlayPan podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Do join us on our social media. It's available in LinkedIn, IG, TikTok. Now, thanks to our team here, now we will even have our own YouTube and Spotify. So please do join us and help spread the word on how we can come together, play for good, and reimagine giving.